What's going on, everybody? It's Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord. Super excited to be here with my two buddies. Mike Zuber, how's it going, my man?
It's going well, man. I look forward to Tuesdays. A lot of fun.
I can't, yeah, and I mean, especially with the news that your new project is hitting the market and going to absolutely crush. I can't imagine why you'd be having a bad day.
Yeah, so, it sucks making 30 grand. It's terrible.
It's the worst. Dion, how you doing, my friend?
Howdy, I'm doing great. I look forward to Tuesdays too, and this reminds me what day of the week it is.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm happy to Saturday. I'm happy to help you retirees out. Happy to do that for you guys. So, well, what I wanted to talk about with you guys today was something that we're now seeing a lot all over the web. People talking about 275,000 home buyers are now underwater. And I just want to give them the horrible news that it's actually so much worse. So I think what's really important is that people want to do these clicky headlines, and it shows how little they understand about the market and how it works and how housing works. So, Mike, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I talk to you and I say, hey, 275,000 people's mortgages are underwater, and it's way worse than that? What's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is you're absolutely right. And what people don't really understand when you do silly things like this, people should realize anytime you buy a home, anytime you buy a home and you put less than 3% down, you are underwater. Mm-hmm. So the question is, how many homes were purchased with 3% down FHA, 0% VA loans? They are all underwater. How can I say that? Well, what you may not realize, folks, is you have at least 6% selling cost, and in most areas, probably 7 when you add it all together. So if you buy a home for, 400 grand or 200 grand, and there's 7% selling cost, that's $14,000. I have bad news for you. It doesn't matter if the market's going screaming higher. Most people that buy with FHA and VA loans are underwater the day they close. So stop with the stupid, idiotic headlines. It's just nonsense. That's my first thought.
That's a pretty good first thought. Dion, your first thought on the matter.
Well, my first thought is it's going to be the next narrative of the Crash Bros.
Oh, for sure. They got nothing else left.
The channels that for over 2 years have consistently every week said, here's the chart, here's the data, here's the diagram that says the crash is now. 20% by the end of summer, this amount by then. All of these things clearly showing they don't understand how real estate works. And talking about a 20% crash in a couple of months, when the largest crash we've ever seen, even including 2008, was 8.9% in a 12-month period. So a year-long period. Their views are down. They're going to be like a lender right now. They're not doing as many transactions, so they're saying, hey, look at this adjustable rate mortgage. It's very sexy. You would like this mortgage. This is the one for you. And we got these agents over here talking people into the deals that we're going to buy. We talked about that in the video on One Rental at a Time, where those agents are now kind of our cheerleaders because their transactions.
Agents need Here's a little secret, folks. Agents don't get paid to list. They get paid to sell.
Look for a model change. Look for a model change coming to you.
Right. So now the Crash Bros are going to be, look at all these people who are underwater and then they're going to compare it. In 2009, this is the number of people who bought at the peak of the market, and prices started to come down, and they had adjustable rate mortgages, and there was this massive layoff going on, and none of that is now.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is actually going to prop housing prices up because there are more people, was it 277,000, who are motivated
to stay put,
to sell for a couple of reasons. One, their interest rate might be better than what you can get now. Two, they're actually still underwater. And that's and you said it perfect, Zuber, on it doesn't matter when you buy. You could buy at the bottom of the market, and as it starts trending up for a few months or maybe a year, the cost of selling. I don't share this too many times in videos, but I've had 2 trucking companies. One closed down because of divorce. Yay. The second one, when I was closing it down because I ran it wrong, it cost me about 50 grand to shut down a business.
Wow.
Like to sell a property, there's a cost of selling. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right, Matt. It's worse than people being underwater. What's worse is it's going to get crash videos some views. But that's good because that eliminates more of our competition.
Yeah, it keeps people in the parking lot. I'm really starting to love this analogy of people in the parking lot, people in the stands, and people on the field. All 3 of us are on the field. We're operators, long proven track record. We are now increasingly pulling people out of the stands. What I think happens in the next 2 years, and yes, this might be wishful thinking, but it's okay. It's my dream. Crypto crash, stock crash, very much like my experience with the .com crash. There are going to be people that realize they're not Warren Buffett. And they're going to go, what can I do? Just like I wrote about at the opening of One Rental at a Time. And they're going to go, real estate's real. I can touch it. I can negotiate. I can create value either at purchase or doing repairs. I think there's going to be more people that come from the parking lot to the stands. And once they get to the stands, the three of us can help. If they're in the parking lot just booing and getting drunk and doing stupid things, I'm not interested. I don't hear you. But if they come to the stands on their own, now I think we have their attention. So I think the crash bros are going to die a slow death, and they will become irrelevant in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months as housing just plateaus and their story gets proved wrong again.
I have complete confidence that they will find the next nuance to get really mad about and get all outraged about. They'll find it, whatever it is. Maybe it's the way that we change from inches to the metric system. So the next question I have for you, Mike, is if you were to guess, what percentage of millennials think that in the next year there will be a housing crash? More than 20%. What percentage of millennials in the next year believe that there will be a
20%?
Yes, sir. That's what I said.
Oh God, I hope it's small, but it's probably not. I'm going to go 31%.
That's massive. That's a third of millennials, but okay, that's fine. That's your number.
I guess. Yeah.
All right. So Dion,
2/3.
So 2/3.
That's insane.
66%.
Talk about negativity bias, Dion.
Yeah.
41% of millennials. 41% of millennials believe in the next 12 months there's going to be a crash in the real estate market.
Well, that is all social media, because you
of course
remember,
it is.
My daughter's a millennial, so I have direct experience with this.
My
They were alive during the housing crash, so they were around it, right? They were around it. They didn't have loans that they didn't personally go bust.
Correct.
But they were around it, right? So it's close enough to know, and they know it wasn't a good thing, right? Now they hear all these social media things, and they saw this and that, and their peers have been screaming crash. So wow, 41. And you know what I think? I'm like, that is awesome, because something else that's happening now is you're actually getting millennials living with parents more, right? We're seeing household formation drop because affordability crashed. It's not quite 1981 crash in affordability, but it's close. And what's going to happen as interest rates come down? Millennials will go, I hate living with mom and dad. I hate their rules, blah, 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 blah. They will go out into the market and they will buy. This is why sub 6% interest rates is going to make your 20% crash, Matt, look stupid, and you're going to send me $1. It's because millennials will come in and just buy.
It's 10 to 20, and I only need to get to 10. Devil's in the details, but
double digits nonetheless.
Right, true story. Because here's the thing. I think that there's parts of that can create that self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And so when you have 41% of people so uninformed that they have no idea that 8.9 was the worst year on record ever, and that was largely due to horrible debt structure.
Lindy. Yeah. Debt,
41% think that. And so
mind-boggling.
It literally, I read the number and I literally started getting mad. I was just like, how can people be so out of touch? So here's a new theory that I have. The new theory is this. The new theory is, we always used to talk about, and Mike, you as an economist know, the velocity of money.
Yeah.
A new algorithm and a new model that we all have to starting to look at is the velocity of message.
No, it's definitely accelerating. That's one of the reasons I think a lot of the economic data that I'm looking at, I believe the half-life, all of it is getting cut in half, right? Yeah. What used to take 10 years now takes 5. What took 2 years now takes 1. I think you're right. I think the information flow, good or bad, right? I would call 41% of millennials thinking a 20% housing crash in a calendar year is possible is horrible. I mean, that's statistically, nuclear war. I mean, there's a couple of black swans that can make that happen, but
then
not many.
Then they're accidentally right. And so, Dion, when I say,
it won't matter. It won't matter.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so, Dion, when I say to you the velocity of message, what does that mean to you? How does that?
Well, it triggers a memory of a study I watched or listened to a couple of years ago, and I don't have all the details memorized, so I'll probably butcher this, but it was like this many decades for the average person to own a car, this many decades for the average person to have a home phone, this many decades for this many years for somebody to have a cell phone, this many months for somebody to get on an app, this many days for so many millions of people to make. So the velocity of that kind of change is hitting the timeline in all kinds of tech.
Well, I think what it lends itself to is if you haven't done the work, if you haven't vetted the research, if you haven't put yourself in those positions and walk through as many of those different scenarios as you possibly can, you're going to be very easily swayed. And so I think a lot of the general unrest and nervousness and stress that a lot of people feel in these situations is because of the velocity of message. And I call it message because it's not data and it's not information. It really is someone's message that's curated a narrative. And that narrative that they've curated, that message has extreme velocity now. And I think that's where we'll see potentially harder and faster things occur. I think that whipsaws will occur faster. I think that corrections occur faster. I think that downsides occur faster. And I think that that's all around velocity of message. And that really does, if we look at it, that's exactly what that article showed us. For any investor would know, well, of course, 275,000 people that bought last month are underwater if they bought FHA. It's math, dummy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the message that they're curating, right? Which is that, and then that message has velocity because we all know negative news travels a whole lot better than positive news. Mike, any other thoughts on this?
No, I just think you're onto something. And again, I want to stress this is good and bad news.
Yes.
And historically speaking, bad news actually travels faster. It's why all the negative crash channels get more views. So it might even be like, faster cubed for negative news, where it's just faster for positive news. I just need to figure out how to use this to my advantage. So that's what you got me thinking about right now is how can I use that varying speed of negativity versus positivity to my advantage. That's where my brain went.
So I think you already have it on your list. It's the networking piece. It's not the auditing of your network. It's the actual networking piece.
Yeah.
The actual networking piece that you have on your list is the most important, the ORAT rules, right? So that number and that idea is, I was serious in the last video that we did on One Rental at a Time today. I was serious when I said, I don't even have to beat up the seller. These horrible agents are already beating them up saying, do you want to sell? Do you want to sell fast? Yeah. The market's dead. It's dying. It's crashing. We're not sure if there's even going to be houses next week. Like, we need to get this thing sold.
Banks are going to stop lending.
Right.
Get a mortgage now. They're going to have to pay cash.
I've heard about it happening before in the past, but I don't know why it happened. You just need to listen to me because I spent 6 weeks getting a certificate.
Yeah. And I don't want to have an OnlyFans account. Yeah. Just buy this. Yeah.
Thank God, because 90% of that 80% should not have an OnlyFans account, please. But again, I digress. Dion, final thoughts on this?
First, my friend with the OnlyFans account is killing it. Her income is tripled because of the recession. So I don't know that it's going to impact that.
I'd be willing to bet she's worthy of an OnlyFans account. That's the only concern I have.
Here's what's missing, right? We talk about what's there. So many people underwater, interest rates where they are, prices where they are, but what's missing? We don't have the element that's going to create the forced sellers that causes a housing crash.
Ding, 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 ding.
I don't know what that element is. You said, Mike, what's the black swan that can come up? Nuclear war. A pandemic didn't even do it, right? And so everybody's going to get tripped up on. There's all of this data that says, here's why a crash could happen, but there's not the cause.
Yeah.
And it's going to come always down to forced sellers. We had adjustable rate mortgages hitting at the time when there were layoffs and not wage increases. So even if you weren't laid off, a lot of people couldn't handle their adjustable rate kicking in, and you couldn't refinance. That's not happening now.
And just a quick reminder, because every once in a while, even the lumberjack in a very heavy breathed way needs to take a victory lap. And yes, the victory lap is slow, but it's deliberate. And the victory lap is this. This is where we're actually comparing. It's payment. It is not price. Everyone wants to make it about this column. It's about this column because banks never approve you on this number. They approve you on this number. So when we look at this and all these people out there that wanted to talk about it in July, it's the horrible time to buy in 20. We're in the midst of a pandemic. And January, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. It's horrible. And then in July of 21, we're still in a horrible pandemic. $1,400 payment, $1,400 payment, $1,600 payment, $1,800 payment. You are now in the low threes for that same median home. You're never going to touch that number again unless there's some sort of massive depression. Even a recession isn't bringing you back to a 2.65 mortgage with the median home price being where it was. So that might be a little bit of a victory lap, but I wanted to celebrate that victory lap with my two buddies because they were certainly a part of that math. And we were all still out there trying to buy every single day. Mike, where can everybody find you, my friend?
One rental at a time. Website, Instagram, YouTube, books, easy to find.
Yeah, if you can't find him, you are not looking.
And you spelled it wrong.
Yeah. I like how you kept all the words really simple, though. One rental at a time. If you're having trouble with any of those, work on that first, then we'll talk about real estate discovery. Dion?
There you go.
Well, I don't want to talk about how many times I've misspelled one rental at a time in a post or a comment and had to go back and edit. And I'm like, my stupid phone. You find me right here on YouTube misspelling everything and saying the wrong name on my Bigger Pockets episode. Like literally calling Mike Gruber. I hate my memory. I do know that I hated working more. And so you can find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, teaching people how you can make work optional, even if you have a bad memory.
It's fantastic. Guys, as always, we try and create great content for you. Please make sure that you subscribe. Also like the video and come hang out on the live streams on Sundays where we have just way too much fun for it to be legal. But appreciate you guys, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, gents.
Ciao.